Welcome back to another episode of Trash Talk with the K-Roos brothers. I'm Jon-Bernard. This is Nick, where we bring you the combat sports news every week. Nick, it's been a pretty big week coming off the Sphere, going into boxing. We just saw Dubois versus Anthony Joshua. Now we're going into UFC 307. What's been happening in combat sports?
Always after big main event fights, after a big card like the Sphere, there is a bit of a lull period where you're kind of waiting for the fight night, UFC Paris coming up this weekend.
Yeah, excited.
And then, people did turn to Wembley for the boxing. But other than that, there's not much news. It's kind of just if you want to talk about it, you can. But UFC 307 as a card, quite underwhelming because Aljamain Sterling pulled out. Other than that, though, Pereira's really carrying here. I feel sorry for Pereira because a lot of the cards he's on now, he's doing a lot of the work. He's putting the whole card on his back, and it's harsh. It's really harsh.
Yeah, I didn't see Aljamain Sterling pulling out, especially with all the shit he was talking in the lead up, saying his opponent was on steroid, Everlev was taking gear, and then all of a sudden you just pull out. Is that strategic? Does he want that on a later card?
To his credit, and I don't know if this was strategic by the UFC, they said the UFC doctors forced him to pull out, or almost, highly recommended he pull out. So it's it's against his will almost.
I almost thought he saw the result of how Merab versus Sean went and said, "No, fuck this, I'm pulling out.
Nah,
maybe I can wait for a better opportunity." I thought maybe that was the case.
He's even come out now and said if it doesn't get a rematch or if the match doesn't get rebooked for December, he wants to versus Diego Lopez. So he's not running scared from anybody. He's calling out all the big guys in the division. He wants to ascend up the rankings and get a title shot. So I'm not going to say Aljamain's scared. He's smart. He knows what he's doing.
Let's go straight into our MMA hot take this week. This one comes from Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier says there's only 2 UFC fighters that can sell pay-per-views. 2 UFC champs that can sell pay-per-views right now, and that's Alex Pereira
and John Jones. And that's, I got to completely agree with Daniel Cormier here because going through the actual champions in the UFC, after Sugar Sean's lost, there's only one American champion, which is John Jones, who's going to retire, and Alex Pereira, who can't speak English. He said the circumstances have to be perfect for Pereira to be a massive pay-per-view seller. But Daniel Cormier is right. Go through the champions. Merab, not a big pay-per-view seller.
Dricus,
Bilal Muhammad, Dricus, not massive sellers. So it's like you're calling on UFC fans to get into characters that aren't really pumping themselves up as much yet. People do want the Conor McGregors. That's why people were gravitating towards Sugar Sean, because he could sell the fight. He was putting on a show. People want a show.
But you have to go through a time period where not every champ can be a superstar, and they have to work their way to superstar status. Bilal Muhammad, he just won the title. Merab, he just won the title. So these guys are new champs. They've just become champions. So you have to give them time to build their resumes up and become the superstar pay-per-view sellers. Now, not everyone's going to be a Conor McGregor. Not everyone's going to be, a Sugar Sean who can sell their fights. So I understand where he's coming from, but again, you got to give him time.
I agree with Daniel Cormier because he did put the caveat in there that John Jones is 37, Pereira's 36, Bilal's 36. There will be a new generation of champions that come through.
They got to retire. They got to retire sometime soon.
So he'll give them a chance to become pay-per-view sellers, but it is looking pretty hard because the more international fighters you have, yes, it grows your overseas base, but your American fan base, the one that brings in the dollars and cents mostly, that's why they're putting on pay-per-views on American time. You need American champions, and I think the American fighters aren't living up to the status of what previous American fighters were.
Well, I mean, they gave everyone every single opportunity. I mean, you saw Sugar Sean. He was given ample
Colby
amount
Covington.
of opportunities.
Colby,
he got a title shot when a lot of people said he didn't deserve it, and he lost his shot to Leon Edwards.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like even people like Bo Nickel, he's got a bit of a character, the big, I'm
and
an
they're feeding him.
wrestler.
They're feeding him. They're building him up.
But if he doesn't live up to the hype, it's looking pretty dangerous because you don't want to get rid of your American. It's not that they're getting rid of him, but you need an American champion, a dominating one.
We need. I'm kind of with you. I'm sick of these Dagestanis and Russians.
No, I'm not sick of them.
Dominating the sport. No, I want some charismatic Americans. I'm scared of those blokes. I understand they can be the bad guys, they can be the villains, but I want an American hero to get behind. You know what I mean?
Again, Cormier did say people like Islam are big superstars, but they're just not there yet in terms of superstar.
What about Ilya Taporia? Someone like Ilya, I think he's massive in Spain. You've seen him; he rocks up at these soccer games. They all go nuts for him. I know he's from Georgia, same as Merab right now, but he's massive in Spain. He's a good-looking cat, does the job. He's not a US-based face,
and he's got a great style of fighting. He's the perfect MMA fighter, from striking to wrestling, and he's got the power punches, the knockout power. He's got the highlights. He's got everything. So
I would add him. I would add him into the mix. He's just not American.
Yeah, I think Islam for me is considered a superstar and a pay-per-view. I don't know. People are saying that his pay-per-views against Dustin Poirier didn't sell that well.
He needs an opponent.
But
he needs a Volk.
again,
he needs a McGregor.
That was overall, besides the Paulo Costa, Sean Strickland fight, that was a pretty shit card. So I don't want to blame Islam for a poor pay-per-view on that.
What
blame
about
the UFC?
Tom Aspinall, who's an interim champion? He's not the heavyweight champion. He's the interim champion. Do you think he could be a guy that sells pay-per-views?
Well, he's in the discussion of the greatest heavyweights of all time. So
Already.
So like, if he wins 2 or more fights, whether he versus John Jones or not, I think the way he fights, he's finished every single one of his fights in the first round.
Yeah.
If he continues to fight that way, you can't not be a superstar.
I think he just needs, and I love Tom. I think he's witty. I think he's funny, and he's a freak inside the octagon. But he needs more of that charisma,
and it's starting to come
things
through.
outside of the octagon that make him. You know, Brock Lesnar really sold himself, put the fear in everyone's eyes as a heavyweight. Daniel Cormier, Olympian, had that back and forth with John Jones. People got behind him. He just needs that one thing that makes him a heavyweight attraction.
Yeah,
and it's his work in the ring, but also I think what he can do outside.
And again, if you look at what people are comparing to, the dominating champions of before, Volkanovski, Adesanya, Kamaru Usman, they weren't the most electrifying personalities. Volkanovski was hated for most of his title run, but it's only now that people really appreciate him. So you got to give these title holders a chance to actually prove themselves the way Volk, Usman, and Adesanya did. Adesanya, he fought Dricus.
Yeah.
So you can't really say that the pay-per-view's all on Dricus as champion.
I think where the UFC is lacking is they're struggling to create younger, newer stars. All their champions and their better fighters, the ones that are known, you know, even your Tony Fergusons, they're all late 30-plus fighters. You know what I mean? Your Volkanovskis, they're struggling to create newer stars. And they're just going to have to wait till the next Conor McGregor comes through.
I think the average UFC fighter, I would say their prime is probably between 30 and 34.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they're really, fighting at their best. They've had enough experience in the UFC and they're having title fights. So I know it's very rarely that a young person ever, reaches the likes of champion. Tapori, I think the youngest now at 27.
Yeah.
John Jones obviously is 21 when he won his champion. And Raul Rosas Jr., maybe he's coming through. I don't know. He wants to retire by 25 though. So I don't know if we're going to see him fighting much further into the future.
Look, I think as the sport becomes more popular, and it has been going worldwide, more and more people are going to get into it. It's going to be easier for the UFC to create younger stars. And they're doing it slowly. As the sports become more professional, you're seeing it gravitate towards the real technical fighters that are overseas. So as it becomes more popular in the States and places like Australia and the UK, it's just going to thrive and there's going to be more stars created. So they got to wait. They got to wait right now.
Something that Cormier said, I can't remember how exactly he said it, but when he was referring to Pantoja, it's like he didn't even acknowledge him. It was like he's like, like the little Brazilian guy. He's the champion of that division.
That's demoralizing. Yeah, that's demoralizing.
I'm not quoting Cormier there. I've paraphrased it maybe.
I like Pantoja. I like Pantoja. Does he sell pay-per-views? Probably not.
I don't think so either.
Great bloke. Lovely to meet in person. But, he needs to sell more pay-per-views.
Yeah,
he does.
Not that Steve Erceg would have done much better.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Well, anyway, let's get into some other news. Conor McGregor was recently seen at Wembley. He was watching the Dubois versus Anthony Joshua fight. Looked like he was coked out of his mind.
Well, people said he's playing the mafia character boss to a T.
Comes out, cigar, suit, three-piece suit, walking down, clenching his teeth. He's so fidgety, looking around. He's giving his insights. It's great insights. It's like his insights gets better as he's higher, as he's more of a high, which is great to watch. But
alleged high.
I'm not gonna call him a cokehead, but he looked like he was very energetic. Conor McGregor was very energetic in the crowd. He looked like he had money on someone.
Well, if you saw once Dubois knocked out Joshua, and they could see some guy in the back of the crowd cheering like he just won $3 million.
Yeah.
That was McGregor. So I think he had money on Dubois.
He definitely had a couple towels on Dubois for sure. If you're celebrating that much, but he did get asked in the crowd, "Will you be fighting this year?" Or when is it going to be? 2025? He said, look, right now it's looking like 2025. We've been going back and forth. He goes, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting around right now. I want my date. And it's most likely still going to be Chandler. Now, that fight is going to be in November with Chandler and Charles Oliveira. He's going to be waiting on that. But really, is the UFC stuffing Conor McGregor around because he looks like he wants to get into boxing? He wants to get into bare knuckle where he's a partner. Well, what's next for him?
Again, I don't know who to believe because you listen to Dana. Dana says like, he's got his pinky toe thing. That's what pushed it back. And it's so hard to get Conor McGregor tied down for a card. Then you speak to Conor McGregor. No, I'm training. I'm available. I'm testing all the time. No one's getting tested more than me. Now, Dana White has a history of spinning shit as well. So Who do you believe more, Dana White or Conor McGregor?
I believe a high Conor McGregor because he'd be honest. He's in the moment and he's honest and he's saying it's going to be early 2025. He's most likely going to fight early 2025. So we want to see him back. The UFC, I think, desperately needs him. They're staking, I think, a broadcast deal on the fact that they still have 2 Conor McGregor fights, but he has business ties elsewhere. He's at Bare Knuckle, right? He's teasing that he wants to fight Bare Knuckle. He's hanging out with Turk El Sheikh. He wants to fight in the boxing ring in Saudi Arabia where you make real money, crazy cash. So I think it's not far. We see him fight his 2 fights left on his UFC deal, and then he's gone. I think he's gone.
Well,
he's going to be in Saudi. He's going to be fighting Bare Knuckle.
He's already come out and said he's told the president of Bare Knuckle, once he's finished with the UFC, he will have a Bare Knuckle fight.
That's crazy to me.
I don't know why you would want to do that,
But
Conor.
every single UFC fan will purchase that.
Is he an owner?
Yeah, he's now a part owner of Bare Knuckle.
Well, that's why. It's like you're promoting your own business.
Yeah, well, it's smart. He's gonna increase the value of it. It's gonna become you could probably sell it off to the UFC for $1 billion and you can access it on Fight Pass. The guy's very smart and business minded. Every single person would tune into a Conor McGregor Bare Knuckle fight. He'll probably fight a person he's fought before, like a Chad Mendes who's already there.
Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 3 Bare Knuckle fight. That'll break the pay-per-view
settle
record.
it. That'll settle it.
That'll break the pay-per-view record. Conor McGregor,
Yeah.
you're a genius. The higher you are, the smarter you are. Keep going.
Yeah, no, I want to see him come back, and if the sooner or later, because not that we're getting fight fatigue, but it's like we can't have Alex Pereira keep saving these pay-per-views for us. It would have been perfect timing to have Conor McGregor come in. I know he got injured. They wanted it to be in December, but Chandler had other ideas. So I don't know where we go from there.
Yeah, he'll come back. He's promised the fans, and he doesn't let people down either. He's a man of his word, Conor. So he's coming back.
Yeah. Now let's go to Sean Strickland, Nick.
Yes, Sean Strickland's joining Alex Pereira's fight camp for UFC 307. Now, Sean Strickland has been knocked out by Alex Pereira. So I want to ask you the question.
Yeah.
As someone who has been knocked out, would you then join the fight camp of that fighter for another fighter?
If you're a professional and you want to consistently get better, they're in 2 different divisions. Let's join camps. Let's join forces, 100%. And Alex Pereira is big on this and training with people because he says that evolves him as a fighter. He wants to constantly evolve. So when he meets up with John Jones, he's not saying, oh, we're going to fight. He says, mate, if we don't fight, you know what? I'd love to train with him. That's Pereira. So I like that he wants to get in the ring with a striker like Strickland because he's going up against Khalil Roundtree, who's a crazy striker who likes to get in your face. And Sean Strickland's very uncomfortable.
But like from Sean Strickland's point of view, I'm not going to say he's got a big ego, but he can talk a lot. To get in the ring again with someone that's knocked you out cold, you could do that comfortably. Like at any point, he might hit you again and knock you out.
Hey, it's all fair in love and war, okay? And at the end, I don't know if Sean Strickland is possibly doing this. So, hey, we're friends. Now we can't get in the octagon together again. Because if Pereira was to come back down, and Strickland will go, listen, I don't think we should get in the ring. It's like Bilal and Islam. We're just friends. We can't do it. We're brothers now. We've trained together. But I don't think that's the case. These fighters want to evolve. They want to constantly get better. They're always sparring together. And now he's joined his camp because he's going up against a talented striker.
Look at it from Alex Pereira's point of view. What if Sean Strickland wants to get revenge on you? Like, perfect timing. It's just,
while you're sparring, hey, you're going a bit light spar. Sean Strickland turns around and says, I'll clock you in the head.
Yeah, like you knocked me out. I need to get one back on you. But I'm not going to get it in the octagon, so I'm going to do it here at sparring. You got to watch out for that. Sean Strickland's a loose cannon.
I've seen you saw what he did to Sneeko. That wasn't a friendly spar. He tried to knock him out. But no, I think it's fighters getting better. And I would like to see more of it, especially people that have faced each other. You bury the hatchet, you train, and you move on.
Well, I think the only way to become the best version of a fighter is by training with the best. Tom Aspinall, in his preparation for his fight against Curtis Blades, said he brought all these massive heavyweights together to up his game. So I'm assuming Pereira's doing the same thing. Get the best of the best in. It's going to elevate your game. That's all it is.
Yeah. Also, if you're using Sean Strickland's logic, he's also Pereira's bitch because he has been locked out with him. So he has to really do what he says.
Well, every time he
says, you're going to come train with me, you got to come train with me.
Every time he stands next to him, Pereira looks like just so much bigger than him. I don't get it. Like, they fought in the same division. How is he this much bigger?
Yeah.
Pereira's a monster.
Another thing making the rounds on social media this week, Colby Covington puts Lil Pump to sleep. Now, let me repeat that. Colby Covington puts Lil Pump in a sleeper hold, puts him straight to sleep. Now, there's been a lot of backlash to Colby Covington saying, okay, you want to be tough guy. Why are you putting this guy to sleep? He can't fight. He's not a fighter. He's tapping out. Let him go.
Well, to be fair, I was in that camp. I saw the video initially. Colby Covington, rear naked choke on Lil Pump.
It was live streamed.
Lil Pump's tapping. I'm like, Colby, let him go.
Let him out.
He's tapped. But after further research, the backlash was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Lil Pump had signed a waiver saying, Colby Covington, I sign away my right for you to put me to sleep.
He signed the contract.
He signed the contract for Colby Covington to put him to sleep.
Even
no
if I
matter
tap.
what.
Even
no
if I
matter
tap.
what. Even if I tap, put me to sleep. I want to be put to sleep.
He's a psycho.
So
That can't be good for your brain.
So Colby Covington actually did nothing wrong. But people were having a go at Colby Covington. The last time you submitted someone was like 2019. Like they were coming after Colby, but he did nothing wrong. He was just doing what he was contractually obliged to do.
Yeah, no, and that's good content. But I don't know if I could get put to sleep for content. Yeah,
Again, Lil Pump, the music career might be slowing down.
he's a streamer now. Lil Pump's a streamer.
He's now resorted to having UFC fighters put him to sleep on stream.
Nah, I think he could still rap if he wants. He's been at a lot of Trump rallies recently. He is a big UFC fan. We saw him actually in
UFC Vegas
yeah,
last year.
at Las Vegas. Friendly guy, nice to chat to. But again, I don't know personally if I can get put to sleep on camera. I'd be tapping. It can't be good for your brain. It can't be good for your brain cells. Oxygen goes off. They had to wake him up. It looked like he wasn't going to wake up for a while.
Well, they put him to sleep and they do the, put the legs up, try and get his legs up, try and put the blood flow back to the brain.
Hey, Colby was squeezing him for a long time. It looked like it took him a while to put him to sleep.
Down,
Has he lost a bit of a step, Colby? He's been out of the octagon for about a year.
You asked the question though, would I go to sleep for content? No, I wouldn't. I'm not that desperate.
Depends.
And I think like who knows the damaging effect that could have had. They cut the blood circulation.
Yeah, but
my
if it's John Jones tapping, putting you to sleep, putting you in a choke, and I said I have been strangled and choked out by the goat, I'll take
I
it.
take that back. I'd let Jon Jones.
I'd let Jon Jones do it. I'd let Conor McGregor choke me out,
and I'd let Brock Lesnar put me in a Kimura.
Yeah, okay.
just for the fun of it. I wouldn't let him break my arm, but I'll tap. Just do it. Put me in it.
Yeah, mate, you're starting to see a lot of influencers and celebrities try their hand in the octagon. I mean, we just saw Sneeko in there. Jake Paul says he wants to get into MMA. Which other celebrities would you like to see in the octagon? Not the ones that you want to see get hurt, like maybe like Mike Malak or Brandon Sharp, but like celebrities that you want to see get in there and try it out.
Like influencers?
I want to see Alex Jones get in there. You know what? I think it would be hilarious. He's mates with Joe Rogan, probably knows a thing or two. He's also been choked out by Craig Jones. He's also been choked out. He wanted to try it. He said Eddie Bravo wouldn't do it to him. Craig Jones put him to sleep, no issues.
Craig Jones, the jiu-jitsu
guy. Yeah. So I don't know. I'd like to see more and more celebrities try their hand at it.
Who else is like someone like who's an influencer that would actually maybe like Bryce Hall's probably going to get there, but I don't want to see him do it. Like I can't really think of anyone else. Zacharific would definitely do it.
Probably put someone to sleep himself. He's a freak. Yeah.
Stays humble, but he doesn't get in the octagon.
Okay, let's go to Sugar Sean. Okay, I'm a bit puzzled by Sugar Sean because he's calling out Devin Haney, but he's just lost his title. He calls out Devin Haney recently, says he'll put up $1 million to get, he said we'll do it in the octagon, we can do it in a boxing ring. Devin Haney responds and says, listen, you're a bitch. Okay, I don't fight for $1 million, I fight for a lot more than $1 million, but let's do it in a boxing ring. I think Sean O'Malley, still to this day, is one of the best strikers in the UFC. I think he's top 3 strikers, him and Ilia Topuria being 1 and 2. Does he beat Devin Haney, or is this a competitive boxing match?
Well, firstly, Sugar Sean went on a massive rant about Devin Haney, and he said, and I quote,
this has been brewing for a bit.
So this is a Sugar Sean quote. Boxers are fucking pussies, dude. Devin Haney is a bitch. So obviously not a lot of love for Devin Haney. But then to offer him $1 million, I think that's the most insulting part. You can call him a bitch, you can call him a pussy, but Devin Haney made it well known. I don't fight for $1 million. I fight for a lot more than that. So let's do a boxing fight. Now, to criticize Sugar Sean, you're not really in a position to be talking about a cross-promotional fight. You lost your title to Merab. Maybe focus on outstriking Merab first in a UFC fight before you talk about fighting an actual boxer like Devin Haney. Now, Devin Haney, he's got a lot more to worry about as well. A lot of pictures of him with P. Diddy resurfacing online.
Yeah. So it looked like he was in the pool with him.
Maybe he's trying to, maybe divert attention away from that, talk about a possible MMA fight. But do you really think this fight's going to happen?
Look, I think Sugar Sean is setting up for that boxing career down the line. Dana White said he's trying to get into boxing. That would be a pretty seamless way of entry for Sugar Sean to get into there. But he's been calling out boxers and influencers for some time now, and it's only a matter of time before he does do it. I don't know how many fights he's got left on his UFC deal. He obviously makes a lot of money, endorsements, whatever it be. But it's smart business. Sugar Sean playing that card. I'm a great striker. I can probably piece up some boxers. I'm calling out some boxers.
What's he got against Devin Haney, though? Because I'm saying for business, if I was going to call someone out.
They've had some Twitters back and forth.
I'm calling out Ryan Garcia, though. Why wouldn't you call it? Like, he's the most.
Ryan Garcia is currently banned from the WBC, WBO. He's not boxing anytime
Hey,
soon.
he can box. He can fight an exhibition fight set up by Dana White.
Yeah.
They're all friends. You saw Ryan Garcia with John Jones at UFC Noche. He obviously had a conversation with Dana there, I'm assuming. Maybe about a boxing fight.
Well, Sugar Sean, like you said, did come off a loss recently. You said he got outstriked by Merab. I beg to differ. I think he didn't. I think, look, and Sugar Sean is playing his character. He's staying true to himself. He's saying he did not lose this fight. He's saying he won round 1, 3, and 5, okay? And to his point, if you watch it back, he did outstrike him, and Merab didn't do much with the control that he had. If you're talking about damage and impact, I kind of agree with Sugar Sean.
Okay.
Do you think he's just playing a character right now and he doesn't want to own this loss?
He's taking the piss, okay? He did the honourable thing, acknowledge the loss,
Immediately after.
Because he did lose. And then now it's back to promotion. You got to sell your next fight. You got to sell your character. But he snapped back into character and he's starting to sell the next fight.
But I'm going to say he did that straight away. Right after the fight, they put out a video. He's practicing his wrestling and he sprawls backstage. Then when he gets back to his house, he's saying, I'm still the champ, brings it out of the briefcase and says, the Sugar State Athletic Commission says, I won that fight. I'm still the champion. He rewatched it with his team. There's a YouTube video. People are saying he's surrounded by yes men. His team agree with him. Tim Welch agrees, saying he won this fight. Now, MMA guru, some other prominent, UFC analysts that I'll call, said that he won this fight. It's a tough one to sell because Merab did dominate the fight, especially with the wrestle. But when you do break it down, I think he's going to be entitled to a rematch. Probably won't be against Merab, but he will get a rematch for the title.
For all the people saying that that Merab did nothing with his control time or wasn't really dominating.
Have you watched the fight back without commentary like Sugar Sean did?
I don't need to.
Okay.
Because I watched it live, and from watching it live, Merab definitely won that fight. It wasn't even close. Sugar Sean didn't do anything in that fight. His strengths are striking. Did he land that many blows on him? Yes or no?
No, look, I think
yes or no question.
He landed more cleaner shots, yes.
Yeah, but okay.
I watched it. I watched it frame by frame. Literally, it was a 54-minute video of cleaner shots that Sugar Sean made.
And I'm sick of these people saying just because they got a bias.
In those rounds that he
because
claims that he won.
Bias against wrestlers. Wrestlers are, in their nature, going to beat a striker.
Regardless. Sugar Sean's still claiming he won. Where does he go from here? What's the fight that you make for Sugar Sean next? Well, he's saying he's taking 9 months off. He's saying, I'm going to be out for a while. He's an injury coming into the fight that's going to put him out. He's going to require surgery. Torn labrum, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So I don't know where he goes next from here. I thought he wanted to stay active because you're coming off a loss like that. You want to redeem yourself. But he's saying up to 9 months out of the octagon.
Well, if he's going to take that long out of the octagon, I reckon his next opponent's going to be Merab. They obviously give special treatment towards Sugar Sean. Dana loves him. A lot of the commentators love him, Chael Sonnen. He's the poster boy of like the next Conor McGregor. So they need to treat him well. He'll probably get a rematch.
The consensus online is that he goes up against Sandhagen or it's Peter Yan, and you give Yan the opportunity to right that wrong.
Well, that was a close fight. Many people think in that split decision, Peter Yan should have won. So they do verse each other. That makes a lot of sense. It actually is fair because Peter Yan, he can't verse Merab because he got demolished by Merab. So Peter Yan needs to verse someone else, then verse Merab again. So Sugar Sean makes sense, but I don't think it'll happen. They got to protect Sugar Sean.
I think how his team is looking at it is Umar gets the next title shot, and that could be as soon as December. Let's be honest. Could be early next year, and then it's Sugar Sean versus Umar.
No.
Depending on how that goes. But you're going to be facing another wrestler, and it's going to be another terrible matchup. I think if Sugar Sean plays it smart, he needs to not build his resume back up, but kind of get back in the win column. He's got to go up against a striker like a Sandhagen or go up against a Peter Yan again that's going to test him and probably go the 5 rounds.
Well, so Sandhagen lost to Umar. Peter Yan lost to Merab. Chito Vera lost to Sugar Sean. So it's a pretty jumbly top 5, top 10 at the moment. So it's hard to know
if you do
who you're going to fight next.
Peter Yan, Sandhagen, that fight was pretty close. I think Yan won that pretty closely. So they could do that rematch.
Winner fight Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll just go straight to Peter Yan versus Sugar Sean.
I'd like to see Peter again soon.
Hey, he was great in person.
Gentleman. Thinks he's been stuffed around by the UFC a little
He
bit.
has no. He's lost 2 or 3 fights there that he shouldn't have lost. A lot of decisions that didn't go his way.
So give him O'Malley.
I don't want to say it's because he's Russian, but that may have played a part. I'm not going to point fingers at anybody, but that could be the reason why he lost.
Now, Khamzat Chimaev, who's going to be fighting at UFC Abu Dhabi against Robert Whittaker, an Aussie that we're going to have to get behind if we're over there for
No,
sure.
I'm going for Khamzat.
Oh, you going for Khamzat?
Yeah, I'm going for
Okay,
I love Khamzat. He's my boy.
At least you're honest. At least you're honest. Well, he doesn't do many interviews, Khamzat Chimaev, but he did come out recently and rated fighters on a scale of 1 to 10. Let's see if you agree with this scale, okay? He says Sean Strickland, rated 5.
I kind of agree. As a complete fighter, he's great at striking. He pushes forwards, very unorthodox in his way, in his fighting style.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't offer much wrestling. So I'm going to go, okay, 5's a bit harsh. Maybe go with 7. He's a champion, a former champion. I'll say 7 out of 10.
His scale's a lot different than ours. He goes, Israel Adesanya, 5 to 6. So to put Strickland on the same...
Well, he beat him.
On the same scale, yeah, he beat him, but is he the same fighter?
Well,
Because Adesanya is obviously a much better, I would say, kickboxer.
Yeah, all time.
And look at his reign. I mean, how long was Strickland's title reign?
Okay, but Adesanya has lost 3 out of his last 4 fights.
Okay.
I say 5 to 6 being generous. I agree with 5. I'll go with 5.
This is what he thinks of his future opponent, 3 to 4.
Yeah, that's very harsh.
He's saying Robert Whittaker is a 3 to 4 out of 10.
That's very harsh. Bobby Knuckles is definitely above a 6 out of 10. If you're not,
you can't call a champion of the sport and a champion of that division a 3 to 4. It doesn't make sense, Khamzat. I know you're supremely confident in your abilities, and it might be in comparison to you, but you're talking about a champion in that division, someone that just knocked out a fellow Dagestani. I will add. I mean, not he's a Chechenian, but a fellow
Similar region.
a similar region. You can't call him a 3 to 4. Bobby Knuckles is minimum a 7+ as an all-round fighter.
yeah, no, I agree.
Especially
He's a
with all the
former
work that
champion.
he's done.
He just coming off a great knockout, 2 wins in a row now. Paulo Costa, then Ikram Alaskarov. I think is a lot higher than a 3 to 4. He's just trying to play mind games. Just simple mind games.
This one was pretty funny. Leon Edwards, he's given 2 to 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
Bit harsh, but I understand it's a bit of recency bias.
I mean, getting dominated like that by Bilal,
Bilal,
he looked
yeah.
like a 2 to 3.
You look like a 3. It did. But look, at
if
what
you
he's
beat him-
done and what he did to Usman, I mean, that's an 8.
a fair
What he
rating,
did to Kamaru Usman's an 8 out of 10
a
fighter.
fair rating for strictly for the Rocky kick, you're a 7.
Okay, what about this one? John Jones, he gives him his flowers, calls him a 9 out of 10.
That's just the.
Okay, how come no one's calling Khamzat Chimaev a glazer? Why is Dana White a glazer? He just gave him a 9 out of 10, basically saying he's the GOAT in his book.
Well, I'm going to say Khamzat, John Jones is a 10 out of 10. He's the
Okay.
perfect fighter, so
Yeah.
Khamzat's actually being harsh here.
Well, I bet you on this scale he has Khamzat Chimaev as 10, and that's what he's comparing.
The
it to.
interviewer should have asked him.
Yeah,
We'll ask him that when we see him.
yeah. But
Out of
look,
10, what do you rate yourself?
fair rating system by Khamzat.
Well, he seemed pretty consistent in
Yeah.
his rating, so you got to give him that at least.
I tell him I'm going to break down my fights. Well, how does Khamzat see these fighters? And then I'm going to make my bets from there. Yeah, I guess we'll see. But now we're looking ahead to the fight night this week. UFC Paris. Main event is Moicano versus Benoit Saint Denis, who we've seen fight in person. Now, he fought last against, it was Dustin Poirier in Miami,
Yeah.
right?
Got him
Been a
embarrassed.
while. So you're talking about almost a year off, or about 9 months.
March.
9 months.
He fought in March.
It's about
but
9 months.
In that fight, he had staph infection. It was very present on his head.
Forehead, you couldn't miss it.
Yeah, he couldn't miss it.
Yeah.
And he said that made him a lot slower, made his cardio worse. His training camp went to
There
shit.
were a lot of pissed off Frenchmen.
Yeah.
A lot of French media. They were upset. A couple of them are crying backstage. And everyone in France, this guy is supposed to be the next big Frenchman outside of
Yeah.
GSP.
So I think he's ranked 12 and Moicano's ranked 11. So it's a fight that they both need to win to get back into the the top 10 or push back up into the winning column. I do think he's going to win this fight. The home crowd
Benoit?
in Paris,
Yeah.
I think it's an easy victory.
it's set
for him.
up for him to win.
Moicano's a good fighter, but Benoit Saint Denis, he's the young guy. He got upset by Dustin Poirier. You got to remember, Poirier was the outsider in that fight. So Poirier, he was good, but Benoit Saint Denis was considered better.
Look, if you're looking for an upset, like how we saw the underdog Dustin Poirier get it done, I think Moicano can get it done. Now, I know he's got lucky recently with that knockout. I think it was against Jalen Turner.
Yep.
So, because he almost got knocked out in that fight. I would like to see him, get tested by a good opponent. We haven't seen Benoit in a while, but you're talking about the guy I think was like a former paratrooper or something in the French army. The guy's a freak, but I think Moicano this will be one of his biggest tests in a long time.
No staph infection. Saint Denis winning this fight easily. very easily. I think he should dominate it from start to finish. I don't know if it's a 3 or 5 round fight, but he should win.
I just want to see Moicano win. I'm going to back Moicano to win just so he goes off in the post-fight press conference. You saw what he did before. He kept taking the mic off Joe Rogan saying, I want more respect. I deserve more respect. I come here on short notice. You know, the guy, he can talk. He's an entertaining fighter. He's got his podcast that I like to follow with Matty Betts and Gilbert Burns. They got a nice little tight crew. I want to see him win because this is someone that people can get behind and become a superstar in that division.
As much as you want to see him win, never bet with your heart. Always bet with your mind. And your mind's saying Benoit, saying Denis. So put your money on him. Put the house on him.
Okay. Now, there's calls recently after what happened in Wembley the other day for Anthony Joshua to retire. Do you think Anthony Joshua should retire after losing to Dubois?
No, because as long as Riyadh's season is running, they need heavyweight boxers. Deontay Wilder looks like he's a shell of his former self, and they're still offering him fights. I know people are calling for him to retire, but Anthony Joshua is still an athletic freak. And you saw what he did to Francis Ngannou. After that fight, everyone thought he was going to, become the best heavyweight of all time again.
Francis. He's not a true boxer.
I understand he got knocked down a lot in that fight and then got the embarrassing knockout to rub it in as well. But there's no need to retire.
He recently came out and said, I've still got a lot to prove in boxing. I'm not retiring. I had my chance at success. I fell short. Why would I give up now? I'm still going to go, which is a great message. You're a great role model. I just feel like this heavyweight era of boxing is just genuinely confusing right now because you got Anthony Joshua, who I think could probably go toe-to-toe with Tyson Fury and probably beat him.
Wouldn't.
But he just struggles against power punches like what you saw against Dubois.
He struggles against boxers. That's the problem.
He struggles against guys with elite power, and that's why he lost. He was going toe-to-toe with him and just couldn't stand in the pocket with him.
He's a good fighter. He's just not a great fighter. He's obviously got a level that he can't go above. So those fighters like Usyk, the fighters like Dubois, he can't overcome them. It's just that simple.
I think Usyk runs through that whole division. And like you saw what he did to Tyson Fury. He's beaten Dubois. But again, Dubois was a very tight fight with Usyk as well. So I just think Usyk runs through them. Tyson Fury is strictly there to make his 150 mil and leave. That's why he was pissed off when AJ got knocked out. He goes, it can't just cost me 150 mil. So I don't blame him for that.
That's probably the worst result of the weekend because Fury versus Joshua should have happened so many times.
Then you saw Zhang come out and call out Dubois as well. Now to put his gold on the line.
Look, Fury versus Usyk is the only fight in that division people are looking forward to. And then after that, we'll see what happens. But I feel like they're both going to retire soon anyway. So just like most other divisions in boxing, it's hard to sell.
Well, Turkel Sheikh was pissed off. Turkel Sheikh, the camera cut to him after the knockout, and he said, cut the camera.
He wasn't shadow boxing?
Yeah, he didn't shadow box. He said, cut the camera. I don't want to see it. Because that Anthony Joshua, whether you like him or not, he has sold out Wembley over 7 times. This guy is one of the biggest superstars in UK boxing and boxing worldwide. And I think he's still got a lot left in the tank, a lot more money to be made. He just probably needs to be in the win column next. I think you go up against Zhang, who is also a power puncher, but go up against someone that just beat Deontay Wilder.
He didn't just beat him; he murdered him.
Yeah. It was a crime scene for sure. But it just murkied the water. It made the waters a bit murky in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, and I think, but Turkel Sheikh, as much as he's pissed off,
and why he's pissed off is because Dubois. It's like watching paint dry, listening to him talk.
He's not that bad.
Yeah, he needs his manager to go talk for him because he's just boring. You need your Eddie Hearn behind you like how Joshua had throughout this fight. He is not a boxer like Money Mayweather that can talk the talk or Tyson Fury who can talk and entertain the crowd. I don't think he sells pay-per-views as much as an AJ would. You know what I mean?
That's obviously a good point. But Turkel Sheikh, what do you got to worry about? You've got all the best fighters in the world besides Canelo in your back pocket. If you saw the photo that came out, Turkel Sheikh, he had Tyson Fury next to him. Yeah. He had Conor McGregor behind him. Alexander Usyk.
The legends, he called the legends.
Crawford next to him as well. All the big names in boxing.
Guy Ritchie as well. Guy Ritchie, director.
Yeah,
Snatch.
I thought that was a bit random.
Yeah.
Photo bombing the shot. But Turkel Sheikh, he is transforming boxing. I actually have faith in him to take boxing to another level because he's organizing all these big fights. And I do think down the line, if there is big names, like a Fury versus Joshua, the fight will happen because they've got the money to do it.
Well, Turkel Sheikh has got that much money. He's even convinced Dana White to put out a social media post promoting that fight. Dana White promoted Anthony Joshua versus Dubois on his Instagram. So these Saudis
sell out Dana.
No, they've got the money to convince Dana to act like an influencer, which is crazy to me.
Maybe that was part of the
Dana's supposed to be the boss. But then Dana comes out shortly after that and says, I finally got it. I'm finally making my way into boxing. Now, we've seen him do this before. He came out, he had the Zuffa boxing shirt on. He said, it's time. We're going to start moving into boxing. Would you be interested, and do you see this happening, UFC having a boxing promotion under it?
I don't think it's a good idea for Dana because he's already got enough on his plate putting UFC cards together. I know he's got a lot of help from Hunter Campbell and his fight team, but
The War Room.
yeah, I don't think it's smart because boxing is a completely different game to the UFC. The way boxing is set up, it's a lot more fighter run. The fighters have a lot more say, and it's hard to say.
Yeah, but this UFC model is obviously working.
No, that's why it's working.
The UFC is bigger than boxing overall as a sport in the world right now.
I have more faith in Turkel Sheikh to run a boxing promotion than Dana White because he has more money to fund it.
Why he said it right now, boxing is a mess. It's run by all these dodgy promoters and everyone trying to get a piece of the pie. But if you do have enough money behind, which could be Turkel Sheikh, to create a boxing promotion that's run very similarly to the UFC, where you're creating stars in this boxing promotion and it's run like the UFC, you're going to need a 10-year plan. But it might be worth investing from now. And I would be very interested in it because boxing used to be the pinnacle. It used to be the entertaining sport. And now it's overtaken by MMA. Some people call it a superior martial art. But I would like to see a boxing promotion because you see the likes of Conor McGregor. You see, Ben Askren's and George Masvidal's and Nate Diaz. They all step into the boxing ring when their career's done. So this could be an avenue for UFC fighters to get into boxing.
Yeah, but that's reserved for superstars. So it's like, and how many times can they do that?
You've got to make these superstars in these promotions.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't know. Dana White, he says he's a man of his word. He never backs down from what he says. So he's going to do it.
Do you know why it makes sense? This is an argument for having a boxing promotion. Because how hard is it for an up-and-coming boxer to get massive right now? How hard is it for the next big thing?
It's on themselves.
How hard is it for the next big thing in boxing to become Canelo, to become Floyd Mayweather? You can't do it. I'm so sorry.
You can. No, he's got to be good.
Even if you have a great resume, you can't. Okay, you need massive social promotion. You need to be a character. But you know what the UFC can do? It can create stars. The UFC created Conor McGregor. The UFC
created himself.
The UFC,
they realized the star.
The UFC helped facilitate creating your Sugar Sean's, your Alex Pereiras. Without that platform of the UFC, that doesn't happen. And the next big box is going to come under Dana White. I guarantee that.
UFC, MMA is the flavor of the month right now. Boxing, it still has a lot of interest. They still have good gate sales. They still have good pay-per-view sales. I just think they need superstars. So where the superstars come from? When you pay them. If people actually start putting more money towards boxing, maybe those lower fighters, people that are up and coming, if they start getting paid more, they'll see, okay, this is the way I got to be. This is the way I got to act. This is how I got to fight. And it'll happen. They just need to be run better. The old way of how boxing is run isn't going to work anymore, and that's what's causing the problem.
Well, I don't even know if people are hungry for another boxing promotion or a central boxing promotion because, like I said, how many superstars are left in boxing right now that actually sell pay-per-views? Is it just going to be like a second-tier competition like a Bellator of boxing right now?
Crawford's probably going to retire soon. He's probably got 1-2 fights left in him. Canelo Alvarez, maybe 5 fights left? Who knows how long he's going to be going for?
And let's be honest, Dana's got his hands full. He's still running the UFC. He's still like the COO of the UFC. He's got Power Slap, which he said was supposed to be the next big thing. He said it was going to be bigger than the UFC. So then he's going to be having this boxing promotion. How's this going to work? Who's going to run it? Look, I'm interested to say the least. I think it's going to be started in 2025. I think he's going to really push for it in 2025.
I don't see it eventuating unless he's doing it in partnership with Turkel Sheikh. That's the only way I can see it happening.
That's how it's going to be. I definitely think
if that's the case, then I would like to.
He's going to put fighters on big money contracts, cite them to fight deals, 2-3 fight deals, and it's going to be under this promotion. And people are going to tune in because it's Dana White.
Well, Mike Tyson said he'll be the best thing that happens to boxing. So I believe Iron Mike.
Now, last thing, let's go into our WWE because Bad Blood is coming up, Nick. And the talk of the internet right now is who's going to main event Bad Blood. Is it going to be, who would you want to main event? CM Punk, Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell, or the returning Roman Reigns in a tag team match with Cody Rhodes up against Solo and Jacob Fatu? That's it. Because I don't think Gunther and Sami Zayn is big enough to main event. It's a good story. It's not going to main event. Out of those two matches, who main events?
Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk feels like it's overdue already. Like it's already expired.
Hell in a Cell. It's Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, and that's... Look, Roman Reigns is the biggest superstar in the business. Number 2, Cody Rhodes. If they're both in a main event, they obviously take their head and shoulders above everybody. So they're definitely going to main event. Firstly, it's Roman's return match. And on top of that,
I don't think,
if there's going to be any returns, you need him to go on last.
I don't think Roman Reigns is coming back for any match unless he's main eventing. Roman Reigns would have in his contract, I main event every show that I'm on,
Yeah.
regardless.
He's the biggest superstar.
Yeah.
He's carrying the show.
I just think CM Punk and Drew have told a lot better story over the last 6 months.
Yeah, but
Than Bloodline 2.0.
They've told the same story multiple times, and they've already had
Yeah,
their
but each
payoffs
match has
multiple
gotten
times.
consecutively better. You had the strap match.
Did they not? Did they main event at all in their last two matches?
No, they haven't. Cody's gone on.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they don't. No, they don't. It's Hell in a Cell. I think there's going to be 2 Hell in a Cell matches. There's going to be some other cage match with Rhea Ripley and Thingo. So they're not going to main event.
Well, it's intriguing to say the least, but it's great to see Roman Reigns back. Do you see this leading to a Bloodline versus Bloodline at Survivor Series, or is it Team Cody and Roman versus Bloodline at Survivor Series?
Well,
because it's going to be War Games.
Survivor Series end of November. So
Because this is what it's rumored, and this is how I think it's going to play out. It's either Randy Orton and Kevin Owens joins Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, or it's Roman Reigns OG Bloodline versus Solo's Bloodline.
That's if it's going to be that would be a great War Game. Because Jey Uso is actually on fire at the moment.
Currently just won the Intercontinental Champion.
His brother, Jimmy.
Needs to come back.
Apparently he's not coming back though.
No, Rikishi on his podcast saying pray for Jimmy right now. Yeah. What's going on? WWE have assured nothing's wrong with Jimmy. Nothing's going on with Jimmy.
Mate, Rikishi's he's very loud and has a lot of opinions. I would like to see
it Bloodline versus Bloodline. Because I think Cody Rhodes has got a bit of a handful, has got an issue with Kevin Owens, who might be turning on him, might not be turning on him. Kevin Owens fighting demons to turn on Cody Rhodes. I think that will probably be a match on there. And Bloodline versus Bloodline, OG Bloodline versus Bloodline 2 is going to main event Survivor Series, which I think we might be at, Nick. We might get to cover.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed we'll be in Vancouver for War Games. And that'll be a great one if it's Bloodline versus Bloodline. Bloodline Civil War would be a great sell.
Yeah, and make sure you stay in tune for all our WWE content we got coming up. We got Grayson Waller coming to Australia fairly soon. He's set to have a match here in Australia. We'll have some time with him. We'll get to interview Grayson, maybe even throw him in a skit. But also, I want you to call the 1-800 number if you have an MMA hot take, because we will be playing our hot takes. We got fighters coming on the show. We're going to be doing some interviews overseas pretty soon. So make sure you're getting weekly calling in that 1-800 number on the screen to get your MMA hot take in, and we'll play it on the show. Let's see if you got a hot take or not.
Yeah, send them in.
Send them in.
Don't be shy.
Send them in. But that's all the time we have for Trash Talk this week. Make sure you subscribe to K Roos Bros on YouTube and checking out our clips at Jon-Bernard K on Instagram. Thank you so much. Back to you in the studio, Ryan.